Jumpers, look at the board. One of my big frustrations as a college coach is when athletes would come to me and they had been told by their college coach or their high school coach that they needed to not look at the board. Now, think about how hard of a task that is to run 40 or 50 meters down a runway at a really fast speed, hit a location within 10 centimeters. And we'd like to be even closer than that. But 10 centimeters from 40 to 50 meters away at full speed, you think you can do that blindfolded? Probably not. So you are looking at the board. So we need to have a plan about how to get there. So obviously, when we come into the end of the runway, we don't want to turn our heads down or look our eyes all the way down here and ruin our posture and ruin our takeoff. But we need to come run in about 6 to 8 steps. We should be pretty much upright. By then, we can see the board, and we want to be tracking it all the way in. And when we're in that area around like 5 or 6 steps out, when we would have to turn our heads down, we want to just see the board in our periphery and be aware of it as we're coming in, and then we'll execute a nice takeoff, accelerating the last 5 steps. One of the guys that did the most research in this area was a guy named James Hay, who worked at the University of Iowa. And he did a lot of work with all the best jumpers, especially the American jumpers. And he would analyze all the big performances at the USA Championships for years and years. And what he found was they would use a stereotyped approach where you're just basically relying on your rhythm and your previous experience to get to about 5 steps out. And then about 5 steps out, you're using a visual tracking system to get onto the board, and you use the area around the board. You might use chairs, you might use the board itself. You are making subtle adjustments in the last 5 steps in order to get onto that board on time and hit that small little area. So what Hay found was that in that stereotype part of the runway, you're going to make little errors. So one step might be a little longer than usual, one step's a little shorter, and the accumulated errors would be about 5 steps away. When we start to get into the visual strategy, we have to use the last 5 steps to correct for those errors. So in those last 5 steps, you'll make your steps just a little bit bigger or a little smaller in order to get there on time. And it's a real skill to be able to hold your speed while you're making subtle adjustments on the runway. Now, it's pretty good to be within 15 centimeters to 6 inches about from away from that 5 steps away. You can usually make it if you're about a foot away. But any more than that, and you're going to have a hard time executing a good approach with good speed all the way through to the takeoff. Now, there are different skills, whether you're far away or whether you're a little too close. So, some people are really good when they're far away and they tend to get on time. So, other people foul almost every time. Some people are really good when they're jammed in and they find the way to keep their speed and tighten their steps and take off very well. Now, the great jumpers can do both. So, they can be a little bit out or they can be a little close and they can still get there on time. So, if you're flying in and you're a little far away, you might bounce a little bit in order to get there on time and hold your speed. Now, if you're jammed in, you got to find a way to tighten it, which is kind of tapping off the ground, not pushing as hard, but not braking either, because then you're going to lose a lot of speed. So, in order to build a great runway, we need to have great acceleration mechanics so we can build great posture when we're upright running. We have great upright running mechanics. We also need to have a good sense of rhythm and how to build it up gradually every step of the run from the beginning to the end. And if we do those first 4 or 5 steps with a good rhythm and very consistent, that usually gets us there in the ballpark. And then we also have to have great skills with our visual part of the runway in the last 5, 6 steps of the runway. So can we figure it out and be when we're a little bit close or when we're a little far? And then we have to have great speed and be able to track the board well in order to get our foot in the right spot for a great takeoff.